Hey guys, welcome back. Danny's Got Thoughts here on the Arcade Studio podcast, and here are my thoughts about the recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience with Douglas Murray and Dave Smith. In the meantime, hit like, subscribe, and let's have a chat in the comments. I'm sure you guys are going to have something to say about this one. But here we go. Basically, first things first, big fan of all three of them, so I hit on that thumbnail really quick, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to it. I think there was a lot of food for thought, and I think it made sense to do it. What I wouldn't say is that it was a debate, right? A debate is usually quite structured. You know, there's an opening comment by each person. There is a very definite question which is being posed. One side talks, the other side talks, then there's a rebuttal on both sides, and then there are closing statements, maybe a couple of questions here and there, but it is structured, right? What Joe does, and he's always done this in all his debates, which he promotes his debates, is have a bit of a round table, like a conversation, okay? So it's a bit more of a mess. There's no real structure to the thing. We have a wide theme, but at the end of the day, there's nothing really guiding it, and Joe doesn't really guide it either. He sort of, stands off to one side and sort of, pops in every now and again as a little bit of a ref, but not really that much, just to try to keep the conversation going. So that's my first thought on the thing, and I enjoyed it. Like I said, the first 40 minutes were a bit of they were really interesting because I think it was sort of something that they should have discussed before the show. I think while they were organizing it, I think that was something that Douglas could have maybe brought up, that he was going to talk about that kind of stuff. But it is interesting. It is brave also for Douglas to come on and call out Joe, which is the biggest podcast in the world at the moment, about how he handles his guests and all that kind of stuff. Right, wrong, I don't know. But I do think that I think he was a little bit unclear about what he was trying to say, but how I understood it, and at the end of the day, it's just my opinion, and this is the whole concept of this show, really. A lot of people speak about topics, myself included, right? Without being experts in the thing, and we're all allowed to do that, right? But as your platform gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and as your voice gets louder and louder and louder, I think it becomes very cowardly to, when you say something, hide behind the fact that you're not an expert and you are a comedian, or you're an artist, or you're a musician, or whatever, so that it's the fault of who's listening that is taking you seriously because you're not actually an expert on the thing. Okay, and it's something that Joe does, that Dave Smith does, that almost everybody in the podcast sphere actually does. They tend to talk about things. And then just sort of throw the stone and hide the hand, they say in Italian, right? I think it's in English as well. So I think that's what he was trying to call out. It's like, okay, all these people come on, they talk, they throw their wacky theory or idea, or maybe it's something really cool as well. And then when people start taking it seriously, they're like, hey, what do I know? I'm not a doctor. I'm just a comedian, and so don't take me seriously. Okay, I think that was the concept of what he was trying to say, and I think that Joe and Dave understood that was what he was trying to say, but they were a little bit disingenuous in the way that they approached it. And I think that just triggered Douglas into going completely Death Star bad guy sort of mode, and that was it for the conversation, I think. The rest of it was pretty interesting until they got to that fact of where Dave admitted that he had never been to Israel, and Douglas did the whole, oh my God, you've never been to Israel? That's terrible. Now, do you have to go to a place to understand it? Not necessarily. You can definitely study as much as you want about a place and be read up on it and have a very good idea of what it's like to do something. And even Douglas Murray himself has said that there are people that have written about the Holocaust who weren't there, who were way better than people who actually did write about it and were there. But, that's just the fact that, maybe people that were in the Holocaust who were really good writers and would have done a really good job just died before they were able to do it. And the people that survived weren't the best writers, okay? And in fact, the people that are writing about it outside of it are the best people. The people that we read now are the best of those people that have decided to write about it, because that's what happens, when you're not... When the best can rise to the top slowly, public, the evolution of ideas sort of brings the cream to the top. Not always, of course, but it does in the long run. So that's what I think about that. It's like you don't really have to be there, but I'm sure that if one of those people that have written about it really well had been there, they would have had an even better point of view about what it must have been like. Okay, there's a reason we send children to Dachau and Auschwitz to see it. Okay, because when you read about it in a book, you can sort of understand it, but when you go and see it, it's very different, right? I've been to Anne Frank's house. It is a very humbling experience to go into that house and understand where they were for those 6 months. I've been to the Colosseum, and you really understand the place. When you go to see the Mona Lisa at the Louvre, or you go to see Michelangelo's David in Florence, it's context, right? You see it in the place where it was designed to be shown in some way, or you can see the brush strokes and you get a different understanding. If you see a Van Gogh in person, you get a better understanding than you would from a book. Okay, you can have all the theory, the artist theory about it, but it's not like touching it. It's not like seeing it in firsthand. Okay, so all the people that are sort of clowning Douglas for being like, oh my God, you've never been to the place and you're talking about it. It's like, yes, he was over the top. It was a bit of a pantomime. 100% agree with that. But first-hand experience does help. And it's a big difference from first-hand experience to lived experience, because first-hand experiences go to a place and try to understand the place or whatever, and then build on that with facts, right? So you're still studying. It's not like you go to a place and you are 100% versed in whatever that place has to offer you. You still have to study it to the same depth as Dave Smith would have studied his topics, but with the added layer of actually having been to the place, having spoken to the people, understanding the distance between the checkpoints and the closest city, seeing what the ground is like, the smells, the food, just even the fact that hummus on one side of the border and the other side of the border tastes the same, because at the end of the day, these people come from the same land, so their traditions are different, but they're steeped in the same thing. So at the end of the day, I think that the idea that Dave Smith, who can 100% afford to go to Israel, 100%, he could go with an NGO that is helping people inside Gaza. He could go 100%. I'm sure that there would be somebody who would accept him in the Israeli side and take him around on that side. So you could get both. You could get both versions very easily, because he can afford to do it. And if you can afford to do it, you 100% should. He's got the time. He's got the finances. He's got the public persona to be able to do it. I mean, he could even make money out of doing something like this, which he could maybe then donate. You could do it as part of a humanitarian thing. Now, I've known people who have gone over from South Africa, from Italy, so it's not hard to do, especially if you're Dave Smith. So at the end of the day, I don't find that discussion very, very hard to understand. Of course, Murray doesn't help himself when he's just being this complete Star Wars villain and pantomiming the shock and the horror when he understood that Dave hadn't been there. But at the same time, it's very disingenuous to Dave, from Dave and Joe, to be, oh, well, can you write about Nazi Germany without actually going to Nazi Germany? And Douglas's response to that of being, no, well, I can't time travel, was very apt. So, end of the day, I would have called this a draw. Dave says that he didn't win it, but Douglas Murray definitely lost it. I think I saw a really interesting take about this by Eric Weinstein on Piers Morgan. Michael Manus has had a really interesting take on it. I don't agree with Michael Manus 100%. I think he takes a piss a little too much. He also discusses the fact that words like expert shouldn't be used because they're so loaded that you should use other words. But that's, at the end of the day, semantics, like both Douglas and Dave said many times during the discussion. Experts is a word, it exists. We can use the word. It's just how the context of how we're using the word. I think that makes sense. So yeah, those are my thoughts, guys. Let's have a chat about it in the comments below, and hopefully I can get another one out soon, because I've got a couple more things to say about AI in the world of photography, which is more of something closer to where I am an expert in it. And I've got a couple of things about South Africa that is going to be that is really interesting. So guys, stay tuned, and I'll catch you the next one. Bye.